Hi everybody, it's Stewart Swerdlow.
And Janet Diane Moore is Swerdlow.
And this is the Expansions News Podcast for the very last week of August 2017.
And the week before our September Spectacular, where we have people coming from all over the world. I don't know if your name is on our list or not, but we look forward to seeing you very soon.
You better hope your name isn't on my list, because you know what my list is about. Well, I have some very important, well, every week is important, but very critical things to say to you today in another rant.
Uh-oh.
Yes, and it's about time for another rant, but before I even get into that, let me tell you that as a symbolism of what's going on, we have, of course, Hurricane Harvey, a Category 4 storm, which slammed into the Texas coast this past few days, with walls of water, some of it very high, 2 meters, 3 meters high.
How many is that in feet?
8, 9, actually 3, more like 5 meters high, because it's about 15 feet high, and 500,000 people at least without power. That's going to increase. And 130 mile per hour winds that hit the coast, which would be about 210 kilometers per hour. And now the Category 4 storm is a tropical storm. It's been degraded to a tropical storm, but still over Texas. But the next problem is flooding. And as of this recording, Houston is underwater. And so far, approximately 5 deaths have been reported, but that will change after everything leaves and the waters recede, and then they can see what happened. They are not able to get to many of the collapsed buildings and flooded areas, and so before the storm hit, the mayors of each city and the governor asked people who refused to evacuate, they're really stupid if they stayed where they were. They asked them to write their names and social security number on their forearms.
Seriously? I didn't know
yes,
that. Oh,
so when they find their bodies, they know who they are.
That's horrible.
Because in Hurricane Katrina, they found dead bodies, they didn't know who they were.
Yeah, but it can decompose before they find them, so.
But if you put them, the marker will stay.
No, it reminds me of Nazi Germany. It's terrible.
Yeah.
That's what that reminds me of.
Well,
because it's not going to
yes.
stay. If you're hot, humid, flooded, you're going to decompose. If they had them put something around their neck, well, even that it could come off.
And plus the other issue is that they said that the alligators will be displaced and will be swimming around the streets. And why does anyone live in Texas? I don't know. Even when there's no storm, there's still alligators and scorpions and tarantulas and millipedes and all kinds of horrible things. Cedar fever. It's not a place for people to live, really. Anyway. $40 billion worth of damage is expected. 40 inches of rain. That's a lot of rain. That's like what would that be? Three and a half meters of rain.
No, 40 inches.
Yeah, 3.5 meters of rain.
That's 3 feet and 10 inches.
Yeah, it's a lot of rain. It's the most catastrophic storm, they said, in 50 years, and many difficult days to come. And FEMA, the Illuminati Nazi help organization, FEMA said they were going to be in Texas for years to come.
That's what happened in Louisiana.
Yes, and they still haven't fixed Louisiana, and nor will they. So that is an ongoing situation, and probably next weekend, are we doing a podcast next weekend, even though our class is starting? We'll have the update on what's going on. My friends in Texas are keeping me posted, and they said that it's a very difficult situation. And in regards to weather, this is a special note to Al Gore for global warming, because in Romania, it's so cold in the mountains and that it has snow. They said they never have seen snow in August before. They think it's the first time that it snows in summertime in Romania. So much for global warming. And as we found out this morning here in Michigan, first frost in August.
We had a frost?
Well, yes, just north of here. And so, yeah, that's global warming. Frost in August, in summertime, and snow in the mountains.
Well, I'm glad you recognized that.
So
you were wrong.
Yeah, it looks like...
Because there is global warming,
yeah, it looks like that with all the snow and ice coming down. That sure looks like global warming to me.
There you go.
Mm-hmm. Now, for the serious, not that this wasn't, but...
more critical, even more critical.
Really horrifying things that we are seeing here in the United States and globally. For example, there's a protest now, after, of course, last week's ongoing Nazi / Antifa, what the heck does that mean? Groups fighting with each other all over the United States. There is a civil war. Hey, it could become like Syria for all we know, which I told you many years ago would. And now they want all the statues of Christopher Columbus to be removed. And New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, who has the mentality of a flea, by the way, he said he's putting all this under review as symbols of hate.
Symbols of hate?
Yeah. The statue has been in New York City for 200 years. All of a sudden now it's a symbol of hate. All of a sudden. And they want it to be removed. Now it's on an island, a roundabout in Manhattan, very famous, called Columbus Circle. So we should just eliminate that, right? And of course we should eliminate the name of Columbus, Ohio. That has to be renamed.
No, they might change. You never know.
You know, because we can't have that name anymore.
No, they might change it.
He said there was a rally at the City Hall. And not only that, but the statue of the Dutch governor, original Dutch governor of New York, Peter Stuyvesant, is also being argued to be removed because he's a symbol of hate as well.
Do we know, just a minute, do we know why he's a symbol of hate?
Yes, because according to this, and there's a symbol of hate because Jewish activist groups said that he tried to prevent Jews and Catholics from colonizing New Netherland, that's a good name, and from settling in New Amsterdam. And so he's hateful, obviously. And so, you know, according to information and Spanish groups, that Columbus, of course, he never set foot in North America. We know that. So he did not discover America. He discovered the Caribbean. And, of course, the information is that he killed the people in the Caribbean, brought slaves back, participated in the slave trade, and all these things, which I have found out was not true. And in my September class, I will reveal the truth about Christopher Columbus, which most people don't know. And I will reveal it in September. And, but, what's next? Perhaps the pyramids need to be knocked down because they were built by slaves. And the Great Wall of China, they used slave labor to build that. That should come down. The White House was built by slaves. That should be bulldozed.
Well, I think that they're actually going to do that.
They're going to knock down the White House?
I think so because...
Seriously?
Yes, because it's old.
It should be.
Listen to me.
And Trump lives there anyway, so...
And Michelle Obama talked about it when she was in...
She said, I live in a place that was built by slaves.
Right, and my girls have to wake up every day in a place built by slaves.
So that should be removed.
But, you know, almost everything was built by slaves, if you go into history. So we have to
So
look at
what we are
this.
seeing is actually, in front of our eyes, thanks to the internet, the removal of history, just like the Nazis and the Communists did when they took power in various countries, knock down the statues, burn the books, remove all the artwork, then remove all the people who teach about these things, and it gets even worse because in Memphis, a theater is pulling the movie Gone with the Wind because they said it's racially insensitive. The Orpheum Theater in Memphis is removing the Civil War era classic, which depicts slaves and has drunkards. So any movie about history that has slaves in it should be banned. Right? That makes sense to me. Here's what I find quite fascinating. This is a quote from the Orpheum Theater Group that says, now listen, as an organization whose stated mission is to entertain, educate, and enlighten the community it serves, the Orpheum cannot show a film that is insensitive to a large segment of its local population. Hold on, did you just not say that your mission is to educate and enlighten? So you're removing a movie that talks about an historical culture.
Well,
Brilliant.
Slavery is a part of all of humanity's existence.
They're hypocrites and they're morons, and it's very scary. So let's remove all the cathedrals in Central and South America that were built by the natives who were forced to build them. Let's destroy the Colosseum in Rome because it had slaves that were battling Roman soldiers, and that was part of racism. And we must give California, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Utah, Nevada, and Texas back to Mexico because that was taken from the Mexicans, and that's racism.
Yeah, but they might.
And I'm not done. Then we have to make sure that Alaska goes back to Russia because it was fraudulently and tactlessly taken from them by a small payment. Hawaii should be independent because we forced the Hawaiian natives to become part of the United States. That's racism. Hawaii should be now independent. China must give Tibet back because it was racism to take over Tibet. And the UK must break up to Wales, Scotland, and England because it was wrong for the British to occupy nations that don't belong to them. And they must give Northern Ireland back to the Republic of Ireland. You understand? These all must happen.
What about the Louisiana Purchase?
Oh, go to France, you know? Anyway, Antifa, and even though it's supposed to mean anti-fascist, Antifa must mean something else, and I will research that and get back to you about that. But guess what? It's funded by the evil Hungarian George Soros, who I told you last week in a 1976 article said he hates the United States and seeks to destroy that country and all its people. And that's what he's doing. Antifa is funded by George Soros. And just as an aside, and I don't support either side, but just as an aside, the Nazis, when they were protesting and marching, they didn't attack the Antifa people. It's the Antifa people who attacked the Nazis and the Ku Klux Klan people. And look at the videos and you will see it is them who were the violent ones, not the Nazis. Not that I'm supporting the Nazis, but I'm just telling to you that this George Soros is creating a situation to destroy U.S. and North America purposely.
I remember, and they're all part of the Illuminati
And
plot.
people don't allow them to destroy history. Civil War was not a nice thing, slavery was not a nice thing, but it happened, and people should know about it and should see reminders of it so that it doesn't happen again. You know, we can't destroy everything that has a swastika, we can't destroy everything that has a reference to slavery or was built by slaves. How ridiculous, people. You're seeing the removal of history and you're allowing it, and that means people will not know the truth. And so, you know what will happen 50, 100 years from now? It'll be la-la history. It'll just be the Antifa, international global Illuminati movement that will have their own version of history that will support them. Don't allow it.
And that's why Blue Blood, True World History, we have these books for you. And remember, this is history that's forgotten. The history we're going to be talking about in the September class.
Already, most of history has been forgotten.
They don't know what's going on. And the thing is, people say, well, why are you allowed to write the books? Because there are plans to either teach you to spell and write in ways that you won't be able to even understand this, or to remove these kind of books. They just figure, you know, let you do whatever you want because sooner or later they'll be gone. So now is the time to know your history.
I'm telling you, people, this is a very critical point. Open your eyes.
Okay, you ready for
Yeah,
me?
go
Okay,
on.
so I've got a little bit more of Trump news too. So one thing that was interesting to me, I found out that President Trump has a spiritual advisor. Did you know that?
Is it a cartoon character?
Well, listen to this, Paula White. Now, White is any colored name usually is some kind of a programming trigger. And when she said, when you oppose Trump, you are fighting against the hand of God. She is a televangelist and spiritual advisor to the president.
Oh my.
She compared Trump to Queen Esther. I thought that was a bit ridiculous.
He's transgender.
Isn't that interesting?
Ooh.
Saying that he too was selected by God to carry out a divine plan. I won't go into the story of Esther, but you can look that up in the Bible.
It's related to the Jewish holiday of Purim.
Yeah, Esther was a young orphan Jewish woman living in exile, blah, blah.
She became the queen of Persia.
Yes, and a time when Jews were persecuted. So she's using this, so this is telling you something. And then she goes on to say that God says that he raises up and places all people in places of authority. It is God who raises up a king. It is God that sets one down. When you fight against the plan of God, you are fighting against the hand of God, which means that she is comparing Trump not only to Queen Esther, but to a king.
I think he thinks he's a king anyway.
Well, he may have been told he's a king. Now, following on the heels of that, you might have heard about, there are things going all over the internet about people talking about the assassination of Trump. Now, a Missouri senator, Democratic State Senator Maria Chappelle Nadal, has been stripped of her committee assignments after she had said on her Facebook page, "I hope Trump is assassinated." Now, I think that's really terrible.
She shouldn't have said that.
Nobody should say those kind of things. I mean, supposedly, you know, we're supposed to have an ordered society for whatever the purpose. To start saying this, it's horrible. So she was stripped of her committee assignments, but she tried to give a public apology. However, of course, it didn't take, and they're still saying, regardless of her apology, they're getting rid of her off the committees. And I'm wondering if the next are going to take her off of the...
So we're also seeing a removal of freedom of speech, aren't we?
Yeah. But, you know, and just because it shouldn't be said doesn't mean that it is, like, illegal. Like we're talking, there's a difference between, sometimes a fine line, but between what's illegal and what's legal, but still, and what's morally correct. And my feeling is you cannot legislate morality. It has to come from within you. So if something you don't like, don't say it, don't give it attention. And the more they give it something attention, of course, the more it grows. So this was very interesting to me. And I usually don't report on Alex Jones, but I'm going to. And the reason is because two things. First of all, you're going to remember before Obama left office, he also referenced Alex Jones because Alex Jones mentioned that he smelled like a demon. And so Obama sniffed his hand and said, "We don't smell like a demon," blah, blah. It was really strange. Now we have Alex Jones again on conventional news.
Why did he pop up all of a sudden? Now he's like all over the place.
And on conventional news. That's the thing. Now, there's got to be a reason for that. Anyway, he posted an 11-minute podcast saying that Michelle Obama was a man.
That's not news.
And I know, but now they're claiming on conventional news that he posted a shocking video. Well, I've seen a lot of these through the years, and they're all kind of the same. So, but he went on to talk about this Michelle Obama having a large bulge inside her pants. And he referenced, which we talked about, Joan Rivers, 2014, believe it or not.
I remember that.
3 years ago.
Yes.
Saying Michelle Obama is a tranny. Apparently, she was going to officiate a gay wedding. So a gay wedding. Wasn't against gays. And then she was being asked by a reporter if there would ever be a gay president. And she said, quote, "Well, we already have one with Obama. You know, Michelle is a tranny, a transgender. We all know it. It's okay," unquote. Then she died. Something happened, she had a throat operation, mysteriously she died, right?
Quick and suddenly.
So in Alex Jones's piece, he had 2 snippets of the video during Obama's presidency showing Obama mistakenly referring to his wife as Michael. One was from a 2011 speech at the change of office chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff ceremony in Virginia, addressing Admiral Michael Mullen and his wife Deborah when he said, "Admiral Mullen, Deborah and Michael and I also want to acknowledge your son Jack, who's deployed today." Then the second one was in 2015 when Obama was asked if anything scares him, and he responded, when Michelle's mad, it worries me. So anyway, there's a lot of things going on. So it was very odd that they brought up Alex Jones again on mainstream news. So that's the first odd thing. The second odd thing was Chelsea Clinton showed up to defend Michelle.
She's
Obama.
also defending Barron Trump.
Yeah, I have that story too. So apparently, this was interesting because again, now this is Chelsea Clinton acknowledging Alex Jones. So that's what we want to remember, is they're tying things together and bringing this into conventional news. So, and they're also calling her first daughter, which that never happened before, Ivanka, who's kind of disappeared from the news.
Yeah, because she's embarrassed about her father.
She's not embarrassed. No,
So.
she's not. She's part of the plot. Anyway, former first daughter, they're saying in the news, Chelsea Clinton defended Michelle Obama, saying the former First Lady is everything this site will never be: honorable, brave, and beloved. Then she goes on to say, I did not visit the site or watch the video, I bet. Of course, probably not her anyway, it's her social people. Think we need to shine a light on the awfulness and expose it without giving the awfulness clicks. Well, once they say don't look, people are going to look, right? So anyway, the thing that was interesting to me, that when Jones did this podcast, it went viral overnight. It's like, why? Because it's already out there all over YouTube, and it has been for years and years. So obviously they want that out in the public. Second of all, here we have Melania Trump, again, thanking Chelsea Clinton for coming to Barron Trump's defense, because he was criticized somewhere along the way about his clothing choices.
Right.
So Chelsea Clinton went on to defend him. You know, he was a child, blah, blah, blah. Melania Trump then thanked Chelsea Clinton. Now, first of all, I want you to remember, and I've told people this for years, that the Clintons and the Trumps are all related. So it's not.
Melania's not.
Well, we don't know that. We don't know how she was positioned and why she was put there. So nobody comes by this, you know, just because. So we have Chelsea Clinton now coming out for Barron Trump. We have Chelsea Clinton coming out for Michelle Obama. Chelsea Clinton now is all over the place. So what are they positioning her to do? And then the other thing that was interesting is Melania Trump had said before she became First Lady that her cause was going to be cyberbullying. But she hasn't really done anything to do that. Well, now she can put up there, which she tweeted, and I told you what I thought about that. I think it's a Tweety Bird trigger. Thank you at Chelsea Clinton. So important to support all of our children in being themselves. Stop childhood bullying. So, and then I also wanted to remark that there was an article which I didn't reference, but it was talking about how that Melania Trump will never be the fashion icon that Michelle Obama is.
Michelle Obama's a fashion icon?
That's exactly. You see? Yes.
She shouldn't go in public the way she dresses.
So I'm just telling you, this is again the way they're changing people's perspective, because I absolutely agree with you. Melania Trump is certainly more of a fashion icon.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Than Michelle Obama.
No question.
So I'm just telling you that this is the way they're making you look at things differently, and the more you hear it, the more you go with what they tell you, not what's there. It's like, look over here so we can trick you over here. That's the Illuminati global handler hoodwink, which we talk about on my blogs. Anyway, then going back to your Civil War story, CNN, Don Lemon, you may have heard of him.
Yeah.
Okay, the president has reportedly slammed CNN as fake news, and in May called Don Lemon perhaps the dumbest person in broadcasting.
Well, he kind of is dumb.
Now, Don Lemon is accusing Trump of, quote, inciting civil war.
Well, that's true.
And that is what we have talked about.
I said it years ago.
For the last couple of years or more.
People, everything I told you is coming true.
Always comes true. Anyway, so he made the remark, Don Lemon said about the president, quote, he has given oxygen to racists. He hasn't really said anything to denounce the alternative right. He is clearly trying to ignite a civil war in this country.
It's already begun.
He has not tamped down race. All of Lemon's guests agreed, and then they went on to speculate about Trump's mental health, which is an increasingly recurring theme on CNN. Quote, it was an astounding chain of lies tied together by lunatic asides by a man who obviously is mentally unstable.
Well, I do have to agree with that.
Said Republican political consultant Rick Wilson, adding that it was Castro-esque and calling him, quote, bat crap crazy, unquote. So this is how they're setting everybody up. They're fighting with themselves.
Very funny, actually.
And as they fight with each other, they imprint the public to do the same. Monkey see, monkey do. And going on with this Civil War theme, I don't know, I'm sure you must have heard about it. I'm sure you probably have by now, but I thought this was also important considering that you brought up about the statues in the North. Well, in the South, in the wake of the events of Charlottesville, Virginia, ESPN decided to pull one of its announcers from calling a University of Virginia football game because his name is Robert Lee. This is referencing The Confederate General, Robert E. Lee,
Except this
was
Robert
very
Lee
famous.
is Asian.
Yes, he's an Asian American sportscaster.
That, I think, is racism right there. And if I was this Robert Lee, I would sue them for billions.
Yeah, but they're saying, oh, we all agreed that it was for the best, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So, but the point is, this is ridiculous and beyond bizarre,
Ridiculous,
right?
Ridiculous.
Then, going into Germany, one of your favorite people, Chancellor Angela Merkel said that Donald Trump must be shown appropriate respect for holding the office of U.S. President, even if she may differ with him on policy issues.
So someone wrote that for her.
Yeah. Then next up, more Trump news. You may have heard about Trump's nominee to be the chief scientist of the Department of Agriculture, Sam Clovis.
Yes.
Now, I think about the cloven hooves, you know, like the goats and things like that.
Yes, that makes sense.
Okay, and Samuel, isn't that a name from the Bible that,
Yes.
you know, they cut off his hair to take away his power?
That was Samson.
Samson? Okay, I was close. Well,
No,
maybe.
you weren't.
Yeah, it's a Sam. Anyway, but I like the Clovis thing. Anyway, the chief scientist of Department of Agriculture. I'm bringing this up for two reasons. One is because those people who are against his nomination says that he lacks the scientific background to qualify for the USDA post overseeing science.
Everybody in Trump's administration lacks a background for what they're doing.
But according
Including
to a CNN, here we are, CNN K-File review, which I don't know what a K-File is, but
I don't know. They make it up.
anyway, it's a review of Clovis's writings, radio broadcasts, and speeches that they said comments between 2012 and 2014 in his capacity as a talk radio host, political activist, and briefly as a candidate for U.S. Senate in Iowa. That's what they reviewed. They said, amongst all this, they found a quote from him saying, as far as we know, homosexuality is a choice. Logical LGBT protections could lead to legalization of pedophilia.
That's what he said.
That's what Sam Clovis said. And that's what I have been telling you for the last, well, since Ivanka started coming up into all of this. I've said this is their way of opening the doors for pedophilia, and I've seen more and more and more of that. In fact, it was interesting to me, and I didn't put this in my notes either, but I don't know if you saw about Goldie Hawn and who is her, Kurt Russell, isn't that her? They've been together supposedly on and off for 34 years, but they never married, right? It was interesting, they talked about she was 21 and he was 16 when they met. Now, when you get to be our age, you know, 5 years isn't a big deal, but if she's 21, he's 16, again, that's more pedophilia.
She was on Laugh-In when I was young.
But the interesting thing is, remember, is, you know, first of all, they started showing about men and teaching, usually it's teaching positions, who are having sex with their female underage students. Now, and people thought, oh, that's terrible. Now they started showing about women having sex.
Mostly women.
Now, with young underage
and married
men.
women, too.
Yes. So, to me, this is opening, and when I go back and start reviewing these things, it's opening the doors for more pedophilia. You know, I talked about the child dolls, you know, that they want to use to cure people who have this issue, which is, you know, again, bizarro. But I've been telling you that they're going to legalize pedophilia, and this guy, now they found out, actually said that. Okay?
That's very scary.
It's very scary. And moving on to some things that are of interest, quote, / scary. This was interesting news that the ambassador to Sudan became the 8th Russian diplomat to die suddenly in 10 months.
That's very odd.
Now, the Russian ambassador to Sudan reportedly died of a heart attack, and this began on the day that Donald Trump was elected to the U.S. presidency in November. The first one was Sergei Krivov, duty commander of the Russian consulate in New York, was found dead with a head wound at the facility. The first report said that he had fallen to his death from the roof.
Right, because he just happened to be walking on the roof that day.
Consulate officials said he had a heart attack and hit his head. And then the New York City medical examiner said he died of internal bleeding related to a tumor.
A tumor from being hit on the head by a club.
And this happened on the day that Trump was elected. So it has to be some kind of a ritual.
You think it's related? You
some
think?
kind of a ritual. Then Andrei Karlov, which was the ambassador to Turkey, was shot in the back during his speech at an Ankara art gallery in December by a police officer yelling, "Don't forget Syria." Vitaly Churkin was ambassador to the United Nations, died in February, the day before his 65th birthday, reportedly, they said, of a heart attack. Alexander Katakin, ambassador to India, was 67 when
That's
he
a 13
died,
right there.
and he died in January, 1 year over the average life expectancy
Oh,
for
that's
Russian
BS.
male,
That's
66
BS.
degrees.
Not true, not true.
They're trying to make him sound old, right? Then, in 2016, a U.S. inquiry found that spy turned MI6 informant Alexander Litvinenko had been poisoned by 2 Russians acting on the Kremlin's orders. Then, U.S. intelligence and law enforcement officials reportedly believe Mikhail Lesin, former communications minister and aide to Vladimir Putin, was murdered on the eve of an interview with the Department of Justice in 2015.
That was just a coincidence.
Piotr
Porshukov.
56, head advisor, another, no, that's an 11, 56.
There's a lot of 11, 65, 56.
Yeah, this is anyway, they don't give all the ages of these people, but some of them. Head advisor of the Foreign Ministry's Latin American department was found dead of a gunshot wound to the head. Then another foreign ministry employee killed a woman and her daughter with a hunting rifle. He was reported as Alexander Sheelan, 43, deputy head of the Foreign Ministry's Department of Cooperation with the Asian and Pacific region. So we've got Asia and Pacific, we have Turkey, we have the UK,
and
we have
India. What's not
India.
listed there that I can see is the one that was in Greece.
Oh, yeah, that's my last one, sorry, it's on this page. Andrei Malinin, 55, so that's a 10, head of consular section at the embassy in Greece, was found dead on his bedroom floor on the 9th of January. Police said the cause was likely illness.
Right.
Okay? So I'm just saying this is strange, and of course there's been a spate also of untimely, strange deaths of natural
bodybuilders also.
And natural doctors.
In Florida.
Yeah, and natural type of doctors. So just all very strange. That's why we said use your protection.
These are not accidents, they're not heart attacks, they're not falling off the roof or drowning. They're being killed.
Yeah. And then, and of course I keep telling you about robots, and speaking of being killed, now there is a new robot for hire program in Japan that will perform Buddhist funeral rites, because they said that because of people not attending, I guess, their Buddhist temples, that there aren't as many, there isn't as much money for the priests. And if a regular priest does it, it's about $450 per funeral. Oh no, I mean it's $2,200 for a human priest. For a robot priest, about $450. So anyway, so at a funeral industry fair, they had this robot chanting for you and tapping a drum. Was called the Life Ending Industry Expo. So that's kind of, I wonder what all that was there.
And do you get egg roll with it?
I don't know. Maybe the people who listen do, because the robot wouldn't. And speaking of ritual, did you know that there is a very, let's see, I had this somewhere, I don't know if I have it, billed as one of Ireland's oldest festivals, the Puck Fair.
Yeah, you watch the language.
Sees locals in the town of Killorglin pluck a wild mountain goat, pluck a puck, pluck a wild mountain goat from its habitat, and crown him King Puck for the duration of the event.
Remember, it's Ireland, a lot of beer, a lot of whiskey.
Yeah, and a goat, which is, of course...
A lot of good combination.
Which is, of course, the goat is used in Illuminati ritual. And guess who crowns the goat? A local schoolgirl. So we have a female wearing a crown, crowning King Puck. Kind of a little play on words there, I think.
Yeah, you think?
So she's Queen of Puck. So anyway, it's in a remote Irish town, but they're keeping ritual alive and well, and supported by the locals. Now this last one, of course, is a little bit interesting. This was, did you read about this one, about an Egyptian pyramid perhaps discovered in Australia?
No.
Yeah, if you see the picture, it looks very...
I told you there was an Egyptian settlement in Australia that they covered up.
Well, that's maybe what this is referring to, because these are apparently amateur archaeologists. So what an amateur archaeologist is these days, I don't know. But they claim that there was a structure under a mountain in Queensland that was built about 5,000 years ago. And it said that Egyptians, including royals, visited Australia about 5,000 years ago, and that their hieroglyphics reportedly indicate that a number of pyramids were built in Queensland.
Probably true.
They claim that a pyramid of Gympie was demolished into the sea, and the other locations are unknown. However, they're now claiming that the pyramid may be hidden under a mountain in Cairns. Okay, and they said that the Egyptians visited long before Captain Cook and the First Fleet.
That's true. I told you. It's in one of my books.
And they arrived in Cape York, about 3000 BC. They made their way through Queensland down to New South Wales. And again, there are carvings that are telling them this. There's a place at Gosford, an hour north of Sydney, where hieroglyphics were discovered. And according to them, these writings and drawings from someone who claims that they can decipher them indicate 2 pyramids being built in Australia, one at Gympie and one in central Queensland. So anyway, this is now known as Walsh's Pyramid. It's beneath the earth outside of Cairns. And you can see it. They show pictures, so if you go to the link, you'll see.
Oh, you have to show that to me.
Okay. But anyway, I thought that was very interesting because we've told you for years that there are pyramids all over the earth, and the one in Bosnia is nothing special. It's related to everything else that they aren't telling you about. Right?
Right.
Right. So I want to remind you, Stewart wanted me to show you some books that I haven't shown you in a while. One is the White Owl Legends. This is an archetypal story of creation, which I told you was given to one of my father's teachers back in the 1800s. And my father saved her handwritten writings, unfortunately the only journal that we received. And when Stewart held the journal, he got the information of how to translate it metaphorically. It's a very fascinating book, White Owl Legends. I would like for you to read that one. The other one I haven't shown you for a while is Stewart Says. This is a great coffee table book and discussion if you want a book to kind of leave out for people.
It should be the New Testament.
Yeah, according to Stewart. So anyway, we have lots of books. And the other one, for some odd reason I haven't shown you, this is one of our most popular newer books too, Healing Archetypes and Symbols. Everybody likes all the colored pictures and things that are in there, which we have a lot. So, and you can reproduce these for your own use. I think in the back, yeah, we have another section. So lots of interesting books. We've got a ton of them, right? But we're getting ready for a September Spectacular. We have a couple places open. If you want to come, there's still a couple places. Get a hold of Patricia,
It's
customer
not
support.
going to be filmed.
No. Customer support at expansions.com. Then in September, next you have Belgium.
Well, before that, we have other things, but they're not invited.
Yeah. But then we have well, we were going on the bus tour, but that got filled. So if you
Right.
didn't sign up, you're out of luck. Then you
Right.
have Belgium.
Belgium and then Tampa.
Yeah. And then,
And then,
do we have Tampa on the website yet?
I don't know, you're in charge of that.
We should get that on the website. I don't think so.
And then I may be filming a movie in New York City in November.
Yeah, but that isn't going to be out for a while.
Yeah.
And then we have our Nevis trip, which is still, we're finalizing that.
Yeah,
So,
by tomorrow it should be final.
SMOC, Sacred Medical Order of the Knights of Hope. We are going to be
And
celebrating
the resurrection
there.
of the original Templar Order.
So if you want to go to the island of Nevis
the
in
original.
in the Caribbean, which has something to do with Christopher Columbus, which we're going to talk about in September.
I will tell you the truth in September about him.
Yeah, but if you don't make September,
And it's not what any of you think.
if you don't make it in September and you come to the island of Nevis with us in December, we may tell you. Okay?
Maybe.
And then our January class, which is our biggest week-long class, our most intense, I should say. So, anything else you can think of? Like our Facebook pages, join our
Webinars are
membership.
beginning
Yes,
again.
that's right. Webinars beginning. We always have so much going on. So check
New
the
books
website.
coming.
Yeah, well, we're working on the editing. That's a little slower because it's a big one.
Plus, but you need to speed up.
Well, you got too many other things to do.
Oh, well, you know what?
What?
Your review's coming up.
Yeah, and so's yours.
I
Yeah.
never get a raise anyway.
Yeah, you don't get a good review, do you?
I don't care.
Yeah. Okay, anything else we need to say?
Yes, but
But we can't?
no, I have to wait till next week.
All right. All right, so we'll see you then.
Bye for now.
Bye.